Okay, so we're going to go over front hand and backhand snap openings here. There's a million of these moves out there, and they've been done for a long time, and I'm sure if you've been flipping for a while, at one point or another, you've experimented with this and come up with your own. Everyone seems to have their own variation out there. If you haven't, I'm going to show you the ones that I do. Just very simple, basic, straightforward openings here. For the first one, you're going to start with the knife in the closed backhand grip here. Bite handle on the left or away from you. It can be done either way. The reason I prefer it to start on the left-hand side is that when I end and I'm in the open position, the edge of the blade is facing downward. So that's why I do it with the bite handle on the left. Now, as with all these moves, there's not an exact science to it. It's the same with aerials. The concept is there, but there's not an exact science. It's going to be different for each and every person, and you just have to experiment with the amount of pressure and the amount of force that you apply. So I can give you a couple little tips, but like I said, to get these moves down and get them to stick, you got to find it within yourself, and you got to experiment what works best for you. So back to the move here. Closed backhand grip, bite handle on the left. I prefer to have the knife straight, facing straight towards me with my hand at an angle, as opposed to the knife being angled, or I like it straight towards me. My hand angled. If you're using a 42, I prefer to have my index finger kind of in between the first and the second hole here on the bite handle. And what you're going to do is you're basically going to lift up a little bit, slightly pulling it towards you, because you have to initiate a little bit of a flip. You can't just throw straight up. So you need to initiate a little bit, and I like to lead a little bit with my index finger, meaning that as I give a slight scoop, not too much, you don't want to do too much because you want it to go straight up in the air, but a little bit, and I prefer to lead a little bit with my index finger, kind of dropping these out a little bit and pushing slightly with my index finger. And like I said, you got to experiment and find that force and that pressure on your own. But I find that pushing just really slightly with your index finger helps to get it up in the air. It's going to flip up, and once it reaches its zenith, or its highest point here, it's going to snap open, and then it's going to come back down, and then for the catch. And that's the move right there. Like I said, it's really not that difficult to do. So another point is I like to keep them low. When you're learning it, you can throw it up in the air higher if you want, but I think it looks better when done cleanly and done right if it's a nice low snap opening and it's not very far from your hand. I think it looks faster. I think it looks cleaner that way. But like I said, that's up to you. If you want to throw it up higher, want to add more spins to it, it's up to you. I'm just showing you the basic concept of it. So experiment around with that. Okay, so we're going to go into the second snap opening here, which is the backhand snap opening. Now, you can learn this move just from the back of your hand to begin with, till you get comfortable with it. Basically, you're going to have the knife in the closed backhand position here on the back of your fingertips, pretty much right on your knuckle line, maybe a little bit below. And the bite handle will be on the left or away from you. And what you're going to do is basically you're just going to pull out with your hand quickly, at the same time slightly bending your knuckles up. because what that does while you're pulling away, when you bend your knuckles up, that's going to separate the handles. That's why you want the handles here pretty much on your knuckle line. So as you kind of bend your knuckles upwards and pull back, it'll separate the handles there, allowing you to go into the catch. Now, to do it the way that I showed in the video, where I used a half roll into the tabletop position. Now, with tabletops, there's a lot of ways to get into them. Most of the ways that I know involve locked work, and I love locked work. I love combining it with open, unlocked work during combos. I think it looks great to mix the two together. But the only real aesthetic as well as functional way I could find to get into that, into a tabletop with an unlocked knife, was to do a half roll. What you're going to need to know first would be basically your death roll, which would be to have the knife and roll it around your finger, pulling it back, rolling it around your finger, keeping it in contact with your finger the whole time. Now, I don't know the exact name for that move with a knife. I just call it the death roll out of habit. I actually learned this with the deck of cards a while ago. Not too many people know this, but I was involved with card manipulation and flourishing for years before I got into knives. I only started with bali-songs maybe 6 months ago. So I learned that move with a deck of cards, and as you can imagine, that's a lot harder than a knife. So anyways, you should learn that first, but to learn it the way that I showed, you have your bite handle on the left, closed position here, just like the basic opening. You're going to lead a little bit with your first finger, dropping these fingers out, and you're going to scoop towards you, taking these fingers out, pushing down a little bit on your index finger, allowing that to roll and clear the fingers. As that rolls around, you move your fingers under it and you cushion the landing here. So you cushion it down. Now, when you're doing that, depending on which way the knife falls when you're trying to roll it over, will tell you which way you need to lean your hand as that rolls over, because you're going to scoop it up and around and try to keep it flat. Now, if you have too much momentum, it's going to fall off that side. If you don't have enough, it's going to fall off that side. That's why you got to be able to compensate with the angle of your hand as it rolls around to center it and balance it. Now, once you're in that position, you're ready to do the opening. Like I said, bend your knuckles up and pull away from you, allowing the knife to open and snap open. You can catch it this way, you can catch it that way. That's up to you. So have fun with that backhanded opening.